I'm so happy we are having this moment.
Well, I'm so grateful to be here.
Oh,
I didn't think I'd ever leave my house again. We had Nazi Week this week, and I turned off my phone.
Nazi
I have
week.
Nazi Week about once a year
have you,
for like 30 years, and now I'm just like, I can't do it.
you have any big interviews lately? How's everything going?
I literally went on a hunting trip, and my wife had put Starlink in our hunting camp, which I was totally opposed to, but there was a sense that like I needed to be in touch. And my phone went off like, on the Canadian border and hunting with my college roommates. And all of a sudden I checked my phone, you have 400 texts. And they're like, I was like, oh, turning this off. I still haven't replied yet.
Unsubscribe.
No, I've been through this before.
Yes, of course you have. I mean, everybody has. As I was, just recounting.
As the title suggests, we're here figuring out with Megyn Kelly why Tucker interviewed the dude, Nick Fuentes. Very controversial figure because he dares question Israel. You know you're not allowed to do that. How dare you question Israel as an American? What rights do you have? Tucker got a lot of heat. Tucker is one of the OGs in the game. He's always doing some 4D chess. I am super curious to hear what he has to say about this.
I was a racist in literally every newspaper in the country. It's like, this is what they say. They go to the worst possible place to paint anything you do as an attempt, I think, to delegitimize you. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about why Nick Fuentes.
Yes.
I interviewed Fuentes. Well, I should just give the publicly available information on this, which is that I was in an extremely personal and bitter war with Fuentes like 3 weeks ago. It mostly wasn't public, but Fuentes was attacking my father, a subject I have like literally no sense of humor. My father passed in March, and I was really kind of the patriarch. Not kind of, he was the patriarch in our family and a hero to every person in our family. And some of what Fuentes was saying about my dad was, true, okay, which made it worse. But I was just so offended by that I couldn't deal with it, and my son and my wife.
Dude, Nick has the uncanny ability to get the attention of the most powerful people in the world. Like, Nick, man, you got something, man. Ben Shapiro retweeted the guy, or no, he distweeted him when Nick was only 18 and in college. No followers, nothing. Ben Shapiro goes on a rant about Nick Fuentes, which essentially launched his career, because everybody's like, why is Ben Shapiro talking about this 18-year-old? And now Tucker, like, dude, give me some of that magic sauce.
So, I was really mad at Fuentes, and then I did an interview, and just out of the blue, I was so mad it like popped out and I attacked Nick Fuentes. In this interview, this was last month, I think, ish. And then I got all these calls from people saying, do you know anything? I don't know anything really about Nick Fuentes, other than he's attacking my dad, my wife, and my son. And it was like, actually, Nick Fuentes is the single most influential commentator among young men. Like, period.
He's got 5 million subscribers on Rumble.
It's bonkers. And I didn't know any of it. I'm 56, so I'll just like state the obvious, like my oldest child is 31, like much older than Nick Fuentes. So I kind of missed a lot of this stuff. I pride myself on not missing things. I totally missed that. Really? And then it turns out that, he has no advertisers. They've been trying to cancel him since freshman year in college. Ben Shapiro actually tried to shut him down freshman year in college. And it didn't work. In fact, it had the opposite effect. So I was like, And so I talked to a million people I know, like, maybe I should interview Nick Fuentes to hear what is this, actually? And so I decided to do it. And I thought it would be controversial. I didn't think it would become what it's become. I'm not going to offer any defense other than, it's kind of interesting. I've literally, I've interviewed anyone. I'm doing this for 34 years. So.
Let's not forget, Tucker went and interviewed Vladimir Putin. And he was also called a Nazi for that. Like, how dare you platform a guy? These people, man, they think this deep. But what is the point in diplomacy? You got to talk with people, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. That's why we have 2 separate aisles and we're still in a government shutdown. Like, interviewing people does not make you associated with them. It means you want some answers straight from the horse's mouth. That's it. And that's the way journalism should be done.
I've interviewed everybody, most of them bad people, to be honest.
Right.
I interviewed Liberian militia leaders during the Liberian Civil War, all cannibals, every single one of them. It tasted human flesh. And first of all, I kind of like them. I'm just being honest because I like people. Don't agree with cannibalism. Pretty opposed.
For the record.
But I'm just that way. I just like people. And the closer, if you can like smell someone and talk to them, like it's hard to not see the human in the person, even if he's a cannibal.
Did the Liberian cannibal smell good?
Kind of rank, to be honest. Actually, during the interview, this is, I'll
Smells
never
like
forget
chicken.
this. I was in Africa to cover this.
Dang, Megan. She accidentally said a racist joke. I'm joking. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Civil War, and I'm interviewing this guy, and he was like, Commander Butt Naked, or it wasn't actually Commander Butt Naked, who was a famous militia leader during that war, who fought, needless to say, butt naked. But I'm interviewing this guy, and his cell phone goes off, and it's the Woody Woodpecker theme song. Da 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 da. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're human. It was like hilarious. Anyway, the point is, none of those were controversial. Like, I interview people who are hated, and in some cases, like demonstrably evil, and I ask them, why did you do that? And what's your account of yourself? Like, tell me who you are. What do you believe?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first thing I wanted to achieve at Nick Fuentes. Like, what is this? Tell me. I'll give you 2 hours. I have only watched your clips for like a minute long. I want to hear, like, why don't you describe what you think? Because I think that's the small role that I play, which is to get documentary evidence of people describing what they think. I did it with Putin. I'll probably do it with every other bad person in the world because I'm interested. Not because I agree with him, because I think it's interesting. And second, I wanted to say something very specific to Nick Fuentes, and it's this, and I said it, which is, I think it's totally legitimate to criticize any foreign country, from Belgium to Congo to Israel, because they're foreign countries.
Facts.
Yes.
And I'll never give up that right. In fact, it's an obligation, I would say, and to be reasonable about it, and not, but what's in America's interest? Totally legitimate. It is totally illegitimate and very specifically unchristian to attack people for their DNA. Like, I hate this group.
You wanted him to hear that.
We all have to hear that. And because that is the basis of Western civilization. Western civilization is derived from the New Testament. It is based on Christian ethics. And the core difference between the West and the rest of the world, not just Israel, but every other country, is that we don't believe in collective punishment because we don't believe in blood guilt. We don't believe that you were born guilty, and we also don't believe that you were born virtuous. We believe that God created every person as an individual. God did not create communities. Every woman gives birth to a human being, and every person has the spark of God inside him. I mean, that's what we believe as Christians. And every person has the possibility of redemption. And in my religion, the great human hero, in Christianity, Jesus is God in human form. But the great human hero in the New Testament is its primary author, Paul, who was Saul of Tarsus, who was the primary persecutor as a Pharisee of Christians. He was murdering Christians. He was Jewish, by the way, so like everyone in the New Testament, but he was on the way to go murder more Christians, then he met Jesus, and then he became the great evangelist of our faith and wrote the majority of the New Testament. So, like, he's my personal hero, but he's also living.
That is a deep connection that Tucker's making there. He's connecting Paul committing all these atrocities, like stuff we'd consider unforgivable, to turning over and being Jesus' biggest advocate. And essentially he's making the connection to say, Nick Fuentes has said some stuff I disagree with, but maybe there's more to it. Maybe I could turn him around. Maybe I don't know the whole story. Like, that's a really cool connection that he just made.
Testament to the truth about people, which is each one of us was born as an individual, and we will face God alone at the end to account for our lives. And along the way, there's always the possibility that no matter what your genes are, what you look like, or what your religion is, that you can change and that you can be saved by Jesus. That is Christianity in 3 sentences. And so that is reflected,
Amen.
even for people who aren't Christians, that is reflected in an ethical framework and a legal code that is the only truly unusual and great thing about the West, which is we do not punish the innocent. We only punish the guilty. We do not, you commit a crime, we don't throw your kids in jail. We don't execute your cousins. We don't commit genocide against your whole tribe. We punish you because you did it. We treat each person as an individual. That is Western civilization. That's a Christian understanding. It does not derive from any other religion. Christianity alone, unique, makes that claim. And that's the basis of our justice system, which, again, even non-Christians appreciate. That's why they move here. because it's self-evidently more humane. That's where the idea of human rights comes from. They're not collective rights. It's not that your tribe has rights and his tribe doesn't. It's you as an individual have rights. And that idea is not only being challenged in our country, it's being disregarded. It's disregarded in DEI. It's disregarded in affirmative action. Identity politics is a refutation of that idea. We are awarding some people something because of how they were born and hurting others for the same reason. That is anti-Western, it's evil, and it leads, in the end, inexorably to genocide. That is the root idea behind what happened in Europe.
Dude, he's got an absolutely great point. You ostracize a community based on how they look, where they were born, X, Y, Z, for long enough until it becomes acceptable to exterminate that population. And I'm just going to say it. Who's been the target? I'm 33 years old. My whole life, the target has been white males, specifically straight white males, because in their eyes, the founding fathers were slave owners, therefore they were racist, therefore their documentation was racist and it was only to benefit white people. Therefore, we must delegitimize white people and eventually, in my opinion, replace those founding documents and America will cease to exist as we know it today. And yeah, by way of genocide, but the only problem for them is Second Amendment people.
In the 40s, under the Nazis, it's the root idea behind what happened in Rwanda in 1994. It's the root idea, just saying, behind what's happening in Gaza right now, where it's like, we're going to kill the kids too. We don't care. And we're going to, by the way, move everyone out because they're a people that is fundamentally opposed to us. Yeah, well, I'm not for that. Sorry, because that's not the Western understanding of justice. We punish the guilty alone. We do not punish the innocent. Period. And that's not racism. And in fact, it's the answer to racism. It's the answer to anti-Semitism. It's why anti-Semitism is wrong. It's why racism is wrong. No, you're not better than me. No, you're not worse than me because of how you were born. You're the same as me because we were both created by God. Period. So the whole idea of thinking of people as members of tribes, any tribe, including my tribe, is prima facie immoral. And yet, it is the operating idea behind so much of our politics. And I reject it. I reject it when it manifests as anti-Semitism. I reject it when it manifests as anti-white racism, which is, been pretty common. I know we're not supposed to say it, but it's real.
Very common.
But I'm not mad about that just because my kids are white, which they are. I'm mad about that because the idea is immoral. It's anti-Christian, and that is the destruction of the West. And so when I see these people like, we're defending Western, when Mark Levin's like, we're defending Western civilization, or Randy Fine is like, yeah, we just have to kill every Palestinian because they're Palestinians so we can defend Western civilization. I'm like, no. You're the enemy of Western civilization because collective punishment is the enemy of Western civilization. Period.
Wow.
That's what I wanted to say, and I said it, and they called me a Nazi, and I'm like, actually, I hate the Nazis for that specific reason.
But wait, what I hear you saying, sort of, is that you wanted to reach him. You wanted him.
Of course I want to reach him and everyone watching.
But were you trying to help him in a way?
That's what it sounded like.
I want to tell the truth as I understand it with the ever-present knowledge that I'm kind of a buffoon and I'm often wrong. I support the Iraq War. I remind myself of that every single day. I made a ton of mistakes, a ton of errors and judgments. I've been carried away by enthusiasm, particularly by anger, many times in my life. So with that knowledge, knowing that I am imperfect and I don't always possess the truth, okay? You always have to remember that because I'm not God. I still want to tell the truth as clearly and completely as I can in every venue, in every conversation, as fearlessly and without shame as I possibly can. And that's why Nazi Week doesn't bother me anymore, because I'm not a Nazi. I'm a Christian.
Of course. So what about, I don't want to spend the whole time on this, but I am curious. The main criticism, as I understand it, has been, well, yes, platforming. They say that. I don't accept platforming as a valid objection.
What is that a verb? By the way, you take a noun and you make it into a verb and nobody says anything? As a former editor, I say no.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, but as far as I know, Nick Fuentes hasn't eaten anyone. Jeffrey Dahmer ate people, and he was platformed by Diane Sawyer.
We have a sitting member of Congress. I spoke to the Speaker of the House about this today. We have a sitting member of Congress from Florida called Randy Fine, who was literally texted or put on Twitter, we should kill them all. Every single one. Someone texted a picture of literally of a dead baby and he laughs at it. And it's like, this guy's a lawmaker who's appropriating money to a military committing genocide, and that's cool. It's not cool.
No.
And let's just be honest. That is much worse than anything Nick Fuentes has said.
Facts. Facts.
So the main pushback has been when you had Jeffrey Dahmer or the Ku Klux Klan, or et cetera, these journalists went after them, like exposed the terrible things. And Nick Fuentes has said a long list of very vile things.
Big time, including attacking my dad, which was the most vile of all, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I personally have watched videos of him questioning the Holocaust, likening it to baking cookies in the oven, and there's no way you could have gotten to 6 million, seems to be his theory. He seems to think that we way overstated the number of Jews killed in the Holocaust. He's ripped on poor Usha Vance in the most offensive terms. Which I mean, so what do you say to those people? Say, why don't you raise any of that?
Dang, Megan coming in hot.
Do your own interview the way that you want to do it. You're not my editor. Buzz off. I mean, I don't know. You want to go yell at Nick Fuentes? I'll give you his cell. Call him and go sit and yell at him and feel virtuous or whatever. That's up to you. I got the same thing with Putin. Why aren't you yelling at him? Okay, why? So I can show that I'm a good person? I care about what my wife thinks, my children think, and God thinks, and that's it. I don't need to prove that I'm a good person to you. You may think...
I think we just got the answer we were looking for. Tucker's way ahead of the curve. You're looking at one of the biggest MAGA people in this country. I am diehard MAGA, and if they don't get ahead of this back in Israel at all costs, we're going to have big problems on our hands. Democrats will run this country for the next 20 years. Because despite them also supporting Israeli objectives, they try to obfuscate it. They don't talk about it, right? Versus the MAGA side, I want to say more of the neocon side, are up in the air just cheering. So, yeah, kudos to Tucker for being an individual and talking with the man himself instead of just listening to what the arbiters of truth declare he must do. And that's why Tucker is number one and will probably always be number one for the remainder of my life. Yeah, really cool. Anyway, if you made it this far, you're a real one. I'll catch you next time.